If we look at all the texts today, there's a big theme, a theme that runs through the Bible, a theme that I think we as a society struggle so hard to get, both on the individual basis, but also on the community basis. It's this theme that you have life, death, and resurrection, right? Whether or not talking Ezekiel or Christ or Lazarus, this is a theme that runs throughout the whole Bible. That to have new life, you start with your current life, some form of death, and then new life. Now, when we talk about this as a church, I think most people are so framed to always think church always wants to talk about heaven, which is, by the way, not true. Therefore, he must be talking about the afterlife. And well, that is true, right? You got to live, and then you die, and then you go to heaven. That's not primarily what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how we in our lives go through eras, go through phases, right? If I sit down and I talk to people, and occasionally I'll say, well, tell me about your life. Most people will organize their life in some sort of eras, right? They'll say well, there was this time when I was in middle school and I was this way, and then I went to high school, and then I did this, and then I left home and went to college or went to my first job or whatever, right? And we sort of organize chunks of time that way. Very seldom if I ask that, someone starts off with, in 1982, I was born to blah, 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 right? That's not how we think about ourselves. Because the reality is that the way life works is that we're constantly in this never-ending structure of there's an us, some form of us dies, and a new us is reborn. Now, this can be unintentional, this can be intentional. Sometimes life comes in and hits you out of nowhere. Sometimes you wake up and decide, I want to be a new person. I want to be a better version of myself, right? And so this sort of life, death, new life is constantly occurring, constantly evolving, constantly out there. But I think we have a new challenge these days. A new challenge that I do blame, and you hear me very seldom ever blame social media for anything, but I blame social media for magnifying a problem. See, if you go to social media and you were to go to Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or wherever you get your advice from, and you typed in, I want to be a kinder person, or I want to stop drinking, or I want to be more spiritual, or whatever it is, you're going to get a video on that pretty fast, right? And then if you actually watch the video, you're going to get 20 videos on that pretty quickly, right? Watch one video of being kind. Guess what your Facebook feed is now full of? Videos about being kind. Okay? But here's the thing. If you watch those videos, they make an interesting mistake almost every single one of them. Which is what you're going to do is you're going to get someone who's going to get up there and say, well, if you want to be a kinder person, here's the things you need to do. Go do those. Or if you want to be a physically healthier person, these are the things you need to do. Go do those. Right? Right? And that seems sensible. If I want to be a new me, I got to figure out what I need to do to be a new me, because I'll just go march and do that. But you skipped a step. Because remember, the cycle that we point to is life, death, new life. Not life, new life. You can't skip the death part. Because what happens if you skip the death part is instead of going from life, death, new life, if you try to go life to new life and never have anything die off, you're going to go from life to undeadness. And yes, I'm talking about zombies, folks. I mean this as a joke. I don't believe in zombies. You guys are allowed to laugh. It is church. So here's the thing. What do I mean? Let's talk about it on an individual basis, but then also on a community basis. So think about it this way. Let's say you look at your life and you say, okay, what is my normal day? Monday through Friday, I get up, I get ready, I go to work, I get done with work, I go to the bar, I hang out with my buddies, we drink a little bit, I eventually go home, I say hi to my wife and my kids, and I go to bed, and I repeat that Monday to Friday. Okay? And you say, well, that's really not healthy because, alcohol's not so great for the body. My wife keeps saying I'm drinking too much. My kids want to see me some more often. I should really, ditch that whole bar scene. Okay? I want a new me, a me that doesn't go to the bar, that's healthier, socially, emotionally, physically, right? Sound good? Right? Okay. Yeah. So we're going to do that. So you decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on Facebook, and Facebook tells me I should go to the gym. Because that'll make me healthier and happier, right? I'll go work out. So I decide instead of going to the bar after work, I'm going to go to the gym. So you do that for 2 weeks, and you start feeling man, this is good, right? I mean, everything hurts, but this is good. right? Your wife's happier with you, your kids are seeing you more, you're doing better at work, you're feeling healthier, and then you get a phone call. Phone calls from your drinking buddy. And drinking buddy's going, dude, it's been like 2 weeks. We really miss you down here. What's going on? I really miss you. And you think to yourself, man, I really like those guys. They're good guys. They're solid guys. I really miss them. And that social connection's good too, right? That's important. Social connection promotes mental health, right? And that is something good that I could do. That is good for my health. You know what I'll do? I should go back to going to the bar and then hang out with them. But I don't want to give up the gym because that's the new me. So I'll do that before I go to work. So now I got it all figured out. I'll get up, I'll go to the gym, I'll then go to work, and then I'll go to the bar, and then I'll go see my family, right? And then you Google something else, and you add something else, and you Google something else, and you add something else. And all of a sudden, one morning, you wake up at 3 in the morning, because that's what you got to get up at to go do all these things that you've added to your plate. And you've taken nothing off your plate, so you wake up and you're like, I need coffee, right? Because you're exhausted. You're spiritually exhausted. You're physically exhausted. Your time is stretched to like the 15th of a minute. And what have you become? A morning zombie. You don't want anyone to talk to you. You're not happy when that alarm goes off. And your kids start realizing like, dude, leave mom alone until the coffee's done. Right? You've joined the undead. In its worst scenarios, you feel not just dead on the outside, but dead on the inside. Because while you're doing all the right things that TikTok and Instagram tells you to do, you're miserable. Or worse, you're numb. You've joined the land of the living dead. See, for you to actually have new life, you gotta let something die. The old Adam has to die. The old you has to die. And it's hard. It's rough. That's why we call it walking through the valley of the shadow of death. Why does he say, I fear no evil? Because he's scared out of his mind. But he knows God is with him. We are called to do this over and over as Christians. So when that bar buddy calls and says, hey, we miss you, the response isn't go back to the bar. The response is to invite him to the gym, knowing there's only a 10% chance he's going to say yes. And knowing there's a 90% chance that that's what's going to have to die for you to have the new life. And even if he does say, yeah, sure, I'll go to the gym with you at 6 in the morning or after work or whatever, that relationship's different because both of you are going to change. Both of you will be better people. Both of you will have to have a part of who you are die. And that's okay. Communities do this too. This isn't just a thing that occurs to individuals, it occurs to communities. People ask me a lot of times because they know that like we are a vibrant, happening, awesome church here, right? Like I don't know if you noticed, like when the kids went out, it sounded like a stampede. That was amazing. That is an incredible blessing, right? Because if you don't hear the noise of kids, what you hear is a church dying. Here's the thing. There are alive churches out there. We're luckily one of them. People ask me, what are you most scared of? I'm not scared of the 10,000 churches that closed last year. That is what it is. That's death. Death happens, life happens. This is what Christianity's had for thousands of years. What does scare me isn't the dead churches. It's the undead churches. It's the zombie churches, the zombie committees out there. You may have run into some of these. They're churches that are technically open, right? You go into them, they're open. You can go attend Sunday services. They have like 4 ministries they do in the course of like a year. And they've been doing it since the beginning of time because God help you if you don't have Lenten services because you couldn't be church, or God help you if you don't have, this particular event because they've done that since 1954. You go to these churches, and instead of feeling life, you feel death. Instead of seeing joy and engagement and people learning and trying and sometimes failing, you see no one changing anything. Now, the common misconception is to look at people and be like, oh, you all are just against change. No. That's not what's happening. It's not that these people are against change. I've worked in these churches before. It is not just suddenly a group of people said, well, I'm never going to change. No. What it is it's like planting a garden. You clear the field, you plant your garden. That first year, it's amazing, right? You have all this growth. But if you never prune, never cut down, never stop the volunteer trees that are trying to make it in time, all you have is a whole bunch of death, right? This dead tree, that overgrown bush that now has died. You pull up the ivy and all you have is dead things under it. And if what you do is sit there and go, well, someday it'll be glorious again, I will never let anything die, everything will. Because you never make room for that next bush, that next tree, that next ministry, that new person, that new idea that might actually engage people in a way you've never engaged before because someone is listening to the Spirit. And that, and the resistance to that, is the undeadness that lurks around a lot of places out there. You ever been to that church where they're very happy to have you come and volunteer for one of their 4 dying ministries? But if you try to launch a new one, God help you? That's an undead church. Or a committee that solely exists out there to not actually do anything, but to kill any new idea that might come up. That's an undead committee. Our biggest threat isn't those who have passed, it's those that are undead. And this isn't just in churches. I could talk about undead corporations. Y'all ever met Kodak? Remember Kodak, the greatest film producer ever? They undeaded themselves to deadness. If you ever read the history of that, it's amazing. It can be all sorts of things. But it happens not because of a resistance to change, but a resistance to death, a fear of it. Because to have a healthy community, a healthy self, you've got to first step back and say, okay, sure, I know where I want to go. I may know what I need to do. But then you got to step back and ask, okay, so if I'm adding these things, what needs to die so I have the time, energy, and passion to do them? So as you go out today in your prayer life, I want you to go ahead and pray about 2 things this week, in this final week of Lent, in our final week of introspection. Ask yourself, not just where you want to go. If you haven't asked that, you need to. Not just what I need to do to get there. If you haven't asked that, you need to. But make sure that you're also asking what needs to die so that I go from this life, let die the old me, so I can become the new me God wants me to be. Amen.